Thanks for coming, everybody. I'm happy to be speaking to you about this project. I'm a digital producer at Sesame Workshop. I've been working there for 11 years in their digital department, which is a long time, but it's a great company to work for. We are the not-for-profit behind the show Sesame Street. How many people here are familiar with Sesame Street? Great, good, some friendly faces then. We are worked on this project that launched a little over a year ago called Big Birds Comfy Cozy Nest. It's part of a larger initiative that deals with helping children cope with traumatic experiences. It's going to start off heavy, but I hope we all get through it together, and we're going to leave very happy, I hope. I'm going to talk to you about the need. What is childhood trauma? Why Sesame, of all people, are going to tackle that topic. What we hope to accomplish. I'm going to show you the game, of course, and just what we're doing to get it out into the world. First, childhood trauma. This is the tough stuff. So when you delve into childhood trauma, you're going to hear this word ACE a bunch, and that's adverse childhood experiences, which is really the worst things that can happen to a child. Sexual abuse, witnessing domestic abuse, any kind of harm that can come to the child. Just anything that's the worst thing you can think of in your mind is what an ACE is. And we know that a 2016 survey of the National Survey of Children's Health found that nearly half of American children under the age of 15 have experienced at least one ACE. So that's 35 million children, and a quarter of those are under the age of 5. And we know that a quarter of all of the children have experienced 2 or more. And of course, the more you experience, the worse it can be for you. So trauma and toxic stress can impact a child's brain development, their memory, social skills, their mental health, and physical health. And we know that adults who have a history of trauma, this can just ruin their trajectory going forward into adulthood. So it can affect how they abuse substances, domestic abuse, be involved in, have anxiety and depression, take up smoking, and even physical manifestations. You know, they're at high risk for diabetes and other chronic illnesses. So that's the hard part. So trauma is really one of the largest health epidemics in the U.S. right now. So why is Sesame Street working on childhood trauma? I'm sure most of you think of Sesame Street and you think of our show, and you think of the Muppets, and you think of us teaching 1, 2, 3s and ABCs. And of course, we do all of that. But our mission is to help kids grow smarter, stronger, and kinder. So everything we do is really towards that mission. So of course, trauma affects how a kid is learning. It can stunt their learning, which prevents them from being smarter. It can stunt their physical and mental health, which prevents them from being stronger. And it can hurt the way they interact with the world, which makes it harder for them to be kinder. So this is really in our, exactly in our wheelhouse. And we always try to be a source of comfort for kids in our materials. We've worked a lot with tough topics in the past. I don't know if many of you remember. I remember when Mr. Hooper died. That was a big thing. I don't want to date anybody in the room who doesn't remember. And Mr. Hooper used to own Hooper's store on Sesame Street, and he died in real life, and we dealt with that topic on the show. Grief amongst young kids. There's also, we've done Big Bird actually once lost his nest in a hurricane. So even Sesame Street has natural disasters, sadly. And since we know that childhood trauma can affect the trajectory of a child's life, we're all about early intervention. So I actually work with our U.S. Social Impact Team, which is the mission-based wing of Sesame Workshop. And we work with the most vulnerable families. And we have a website called Sesame Street and Communities, where we put the materials we create. So we've tackled topics like grief and incarcerated parents, children of divorce, and that is where all of our trauma material lives as well. And we really try to look at everything from a child's perspective. That's really where the Sesame comes in, right? There's not a lot of material out there from that perspective, especially about trauma. So there was really a need that we saw. And of course, we have the Muppets. And as you're familiar with, the Muppets are really the perfect ambassadors for tough topics. I mean, if all the bad news in your life came to you from Elmo, you would be so much better off in your life. You would not be sad anymore. And they can really open up communication with children and adults that other things can't do. So we're really lucky to have them. So what did we want to accomplish? Now we're in it. We're going to do trauma. We're tackling it. We are not trauma experts by any means, and we believe in research. So, of course, the first thing we did was we go to the experts. We have an advisory. We talk to them about trauma. We find out what we can do. What should our goals be for this age group, and that's preschool children. So these are some simple goals that for all of our trauma materials. We really want to worry about safety and security, teach kids about comfort items, creating a safe space in their head that they can have anywhere, some coping strategies like focus exercises and breathing exercises, and then general awareness, because we know that the presence of a caring adult can be a huge difference in a child's life. So if adults are aware of the problem and know how trauma affects kids, they can be of great assistance. So I keep talking about this trauma initiative. Just so you know, we made a lot of materials, not just the game that I'm going to get into. We have print materials and activities for kids and tips and videos that we made especially for this project. So when we were thinking about trauma, we were trying to think of the character that we wanted to use, because since we have these characters and they're perfect ambassadors, who could we use? So that's where Big Bird comes in. It's such a dark topic, and Big Bird is a vulnerable character, and he's got a sweetness to him, and he really felt like the perfect ambassador for trauma. Trauma is a big deal, and he's a big bird, as you can see. He looks so sad there. It's so hard to see. So this image actually is from the main video from our initiative, which is also called Big Bird's Comfy Cozy Nest. Big Bird lives in a real nest, but he is going through a tough time here. So he talks to Alan, who now runs Superstore, who teaches him the strategy of creating a safe place in your mind that you can go to anytime. And that's really where our game picks up. So then you can virtually help Big Bird create that safe place now that he's learned this strategy. So this game is full of audio. So everything we do is for young kids. So we're talking about like 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. So all of our game instructions have to be audio because our kids can't read. You're going to put it up, it's going to be gobbledygook, they can't see it. So everything you're telling them needs to be audio. So we have Big Bird is our host, and he explains everything as you go. I'm going to play this without the audio a little bit as we go. So usually when a kid's playing a game, a lot of time parents will hand them the phone and they get riled up and it's kind of a fun game. We want this game to be fun, but we also, we're trying to think about it differently because we wanted kids to be in a more calm space, because when you're sort of thinking and creating a place in your head that's a safe place, we wanted them to enter into that in a different way than a kid would usually play a game. So we actually start off the game with a breathing exercise. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So Big Bird, you tap on his belly and he breathes 3 times in and out to get the goods into the game. It's a simple strategy that they can take off of the game. We really wanted to include stuff that kids could use when they're not on the internet, stuff that they could take with them when they're no longer playing the game. We can all take a deep breath now, right, everybody? I feel a lot better. So you breathe with him. And then really the bulk of the game, as I skip ahead just a little bit, is creating this virtual place. We wanted something that was going to be fun for the kids. It's a hard topic. So we wanted to have that self-expression for kids so they really get to decorate and have fun. You can see my safe place. I've chosen this Golden Girls lovely wallpaper because that's where I feel safest, hanging out with my girls on the lanai. But you can paint the nest and the walls, and it's really a place for kids to interact with the strategy and have a little bit of fun as they're playing, because we want them to come back. So we have a variety of colors. And as they're adding stuff to the room, you can also add items to the nest. We have Big Bird, gives you helpful tips and talks about comfort items and how it can help to have a familiar item with you in a moment of stress and can help you calm down and cope with whatever you're feeling. You can make this as simple or as crazy as you want. It's really for the kid to feel how they feel safe. You can see inside my head, I'm a little busier than some other people might be. I've added a lot of things to my safe nest, including flowers and a pillow. So we wanted to add some focus exercises as well to this game. So once you create the nest, we wanted something to do there, to keep the kid there. And again, we wanted stuff that they'd be familiar with in the real world. So maybe it could be something that they could do when they're not playing the game. So we created 4 mini games that are focus exercises that are super simple. So the kids, 2 to 5 can easily understand it. I'm going to fast forward a little. These are our 4 mini games that are in the toy chest in the room. So the kid can, once they create the nest, they can go to the toy chest and they can go back as many times as they want. The first one are these wind chimes that are really simple focus game. So you can play this as long as you want. We're not kicking them out at any point. There's no winning or losing. You can just sit and play. And when we went out and we do kid testing with all of our stuff, it was amazing to see that even like young kids were interested in sitting and just playing with wind chimes. It kept their focus, which is exactly what we wanted. It's really good for when you're at work as well and you're very stressed out about your job, and you can sit and just play with the wind chimes for a minute and really feel it. The next one I'm going to show you, just because I really think it's really sweet, is this teddy bear, which of course kids are familiar with in their real life, so this might be something they can actually do. We wanted to make a tactile experience that was virtual, so what you're doing is you're virtually petting the teddy bear, and you can see the changes in its fur, and we really wanted it to feel tactile, and it's something you can do at home, pet a blanket. I hope you're all taking these coping strategies for your real life. And this is my favorite strategy in the game. If you touch the teddy bear's tummy, Big Bird explains that you can give yourself a hug. I want everybody to just see how it feels. It feels great. Just give yourself a little hug. You can do it anytime, and you're going to feel so much better afterwards. And the kid can take that with them and do it whenever they're feeling a moment of stress and trying to cope. In this game, the other 2 are bubbles. So we have, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can make bubbles and pop the bubbles. It's very much like the chimes. Simplicity is really what we were going for. And the last one is a snow globe that is a Sesame Street scene, so kids can slide and make the snow come down and really look for things and really helps them focus. And we have dialogue that says, notice the world around you, and we hope that we're getting them to pay attention to the details in the snow globe. There's also a little surprise in this game because we wanted to reward kids that were really sitting and noticing around them. So if you tap on the window, there's a little bit where you can slowly grow some flowers, another fantastic real world calming activity for those gardeners in the house. You just water the plants. This is the most calm game I've ever worked on. And you watch them grow. And that's really the bulk of the game. And when you leave the game, again, Big Bird takes you out with a breathing exercise to take you back out of this sort of headspace and the focusing back into the real world, which is a strategy that we learned from our experts. When you're going into it, you breathe in to get into the space and then breathe out to rejoin where you are. Stop this. Let's see if it goes forward. So we made this game back in October and launched it then on our website, Sesame Street Communities. And we're so lucky to have things like the Muppets. It gets us a lot of eyes on these projects that might not get eyes on them. Childhood trauma is not the most exciting topic for a lot of people, so it's hard to get people to pay attention. We're really grateful to have gotten a couple million impressions on social media. We were featured on the Today Show. Our site has about 165,000 visitors And where we have the game on the site, we include framing text, but who we're really aiming for when we're promoting this is for providers. That's where we really see the entrance into helping kids, is to get this stuff out to providers who then can use it with families, and then they can use it on their own. But really the entryway is through providers, and that is where our social impact team really makes the biggest impact, because they actually travel around the country and go and talk to providers and teach them how to implement these materials and how to use the game with families. And I'm just going to say, we're all in this together. No one is alone. I know I rushed through everything, but we're on a tight schedule. So I'd love for any questions, if anybody has any questions for me.